On today's episode, Elite Week begins with the 2018 Spartan Race U.S. champion, Ryan Woods.
This is the world's toughest podcast. Welcome to the world's toughest podcast, where we talk about any obstacle course race you'd like, as long as that's world's toughest mudder. Each week we talk to members of the WTM community and share stories of success and failure in the single greatest event in OCR. My name is Will Hicks, and this is the world's toughest podcast.
Welcome back to World's Toughest Podcast. My name is Will Hicks. Thank you for listening to the number one rated obstacle course racing podcast in the world. I am very excited about today's kickoff of Elite Week. We're going to talk about it in a minute. Before we start, you can email me at willhicks@gmail.com. You can follow me on Twitter at @TheWillHicks. And you can follow the show on Instagram at World's Toughest Podcast. Instead of following just the show, though, search Instagram for the World's Toughest Podcast hashtag. We have a team of people sharing posts with info on the new episodes as they are released. If you want to talk about the new episode or ask questions about World's Toughest, look for those guys that are sharing those posts. They are part of our World's Toughest social media team, and they will help you out. They're all veterans of World's Toughest, and they're all good people. Let's talk Elite Week. On today's show, we kick off Elite Week with Ryan Woods. Ryan has been a guest on our show before. You may remember.
Will you bring me some more wine? Fuck these guys.
Elite Week is a grand tradition of the podcast that we have done every single year since 2017. It started out as Elite Week, but we had too many interviews, so it actually turned into Elite Weeks real quick. So it's really Elite Weeks, but the alliteration does not work as well as Elite Week. We call it Elite Week, okay? Just go with it. As I'm recording this, there are 10 days until World's Toughest Mudder. I have at least 20 elites that we are going to talk to between now and then. Are we talking to every elite? No, that would be impossible. But we're going to talk to the ones that I think will be on the podium, or maybe on top of the podium, or have been on the podium in the past. We are talking with every single one of the 100-milers. Very excited about talking with those guys. I'm also going to talk with a few wild cards that may or may not finish in the top 3 or the top 5, but they might. And if those wild cards make some noise on November 10th in Atlanta, remember where you heard their name first. So 10 days, 20-plus athletes. We are going to have multiple episodes every day from here until World's Toughest. Some days we'll have a full episode like this. Some days we'll just have a quick intro and talk with the athlete. We don't have a lot of time, guys. Team HQ has sent out emails to the members of the relay teams for World's Toughest Mudder 2018. Here's what they say. Dear athlete, this email is to notify you that you are currently registered in the Team Relay category for World's Toughest Mudder 2018. There will be a section of the pit reserved for Team Relay athletes with a 10 by 20 foot space for each team. Please let us know if you have any questions prior to the event, and we will try our best to answer them in a timely manner. If any changes to your team's plans occur, please let us know so that we may adjust accordingly. Thanks, TMHQ. If you are signed up for the Team Relay and have not received that email, you should email support@toughmudder.com immediately. If you want to run Team Relay and have not already signed up, then you are out of luck, friend. A 10 by 20 spot is perfect for World's Toughest. Here is what you should do. This is what my team did last year, and it worked great. In fact, you don't even need a team to do this. You just need a buddy where the two of you camp next to each other or pit next to each other and set it up. On half of that 10 foot by 20, so on one of those 10 by 10 foot spots, you set up a big tent. You're going to use that tent to change clothes in, to change into your wetsuit, and for your pit crew to sleep while you're out running. On the other half, you're going to put up a 10-foot by 10-foot pop-up. Those are the shade things that you'll see at the beach or at the park. And then you put a tarp down underneath your pop-up. Bring a small table or some plastic shelves from Walmart. Don't spend a lot of money on these shelves because you're only going to use them once. But then you will be in business for pit crewing for multiple people. Don't forget the chairs for your pit crew for while you're gone. To pull off this little plan I just gave you for pit crewing, you're going to need a partner because you need 2 spots. Each individual gets a 10-foot by 10-foot spot. And you need to plan ahead so that one of you brings a tent, one of you brings a pop-up. But if you can work it out, you will be in business. Good luck. Don't forget, you can win a free pair of Merrell trail running shoes by texting the word TOUGH to the number 22828. That's TOUGH to the number 22828. Totally free. That will subscribe you to our mailing list and enter you to win a pair of Merrell Agility Peak Flex or Merrell All Out Crush 2.0s. TOUGH to the number 22828. It's time to play You're So Smart.
Hey, baby, you're so smart. Look at what you're doing now.
Last time we asked the question, what World's Toughest Mudder podium athlete was also college roommates with one of the most well-known athletes to come out of American Ninja Warrior? This is a hard question. It was harder than I anticipated. I got 0 correct answers. The answer is Maggie Thorne. In 2013, Maggie finished second at World's Toughest behind Deanna Blegg. Maggie had 75 miles. Maggie was college roommates with Jesse Graff, who you will be able to see doing stunt work in the next Wonder Woman movie. Here's our next You're So Smart question. Who will finish on the podium at World's Toughest Mudder 2018? I need you to pick the top 3 individual men and top 3 individual women. Top 3 men, top 3 women. To be clear, this race has not been run yet. This is the race we're talking about in 10 days. You are picking the winners. Email your guesses to worldstoughestpodcast@gmail.com with So Smart WTM in the subject line. If you successfully pick all 6 individual podium athletes and the order they will finish in, you will win a sticker. World's Toughest Podcast sticker. And I will have you on the show to congratulate you personally. I don't want just the names. I need to know this man will finish first. This man will finish second. This man will finish third. Same for the women. So the people and which place they will finish in. Top 3 men, top 3 women. There's no tiebreaker. If more than one person picks all 6 podium winners and the correct placement, I will have all of you on the show. Stickers for everyone. Because, not for everyone who picks it. Don't get greedy. Because that would be amazing. Email your picks to worldstoughestpodcast@gmail.com. So Smart WTM in the subject line. Good luck.
Hey, baby, you're so smart. Look at what you're doing now.
Before we talk with Ryan Woods, let's read some iTunes reviews.
5 stars.
5 stars.
5 stars.
5 stars.
5 stars.
5 stars.
5 stars. 5 stars.
From the U.S., DeGoat writes, Owner, Goat Tough, 5 stars. WTM Podcast, amazing as always. You touch the personal side of OCR. I speak for a lot of folks in saying your podcast has opened the door to trying many new things and living a much happier, healthier life. Will, you're a great asset to the WTM community and to all the people you reach. Thanks for all your hard work, and I'm honored to have traveled as many miles on events as I have with you. Remembering the first toughest event in LA as we both literally fell asleep on the side of the course. Looking forward to many more years of enjoying your show. Peace out, the GOAT. Thank you, the GOAT. Very kind. That is Jim Campbell. Jim is the first person to earn the coveted 100X headband for running or completing 100 Tough Mudder events. Jim's been on the show several times. He mentioned the first toughest event in LA. That was last year. The first ever toughest mutter. It was like 4:30 in the morning, and we were both tired. And Jim would stop to fix something with his hip or maybe with his shoe, and I would flop on my back just on the side of the course and pass out, just go to sleep like immediately. Then Jim would fix, he'd finish whatever he was doing with his shoe, and he kind of kick me, and then we'd keep going. I fell asleep 3 or 4 times like that. Good times. Thank you for the review, Jim. You are too kind. If you'd like to be a part of the show, like Jim Campbell, the GOAT, you can leave a review on Apple Podcasts also. Just open the Purple Podcast app on your iPhone or iPad and search for World's Toughest Podcast. Click our logo and then scroll down to click Write a Review. If you don't have an iPhone, you can still leave a review. Go to Amazon.com and search for World's Toughest Podcast. Click our logo, then scroll down to click Write a Customer Review. And I will read it on a future episode. Thank you for helping the show that way. Ryan Woods was a member of the World's Toughest Mudder relay team that finished in first place in 2017. 1 month after the race, his team was disqualified and their title was given to the team that finished in second place. You can hear that whole story on season 2, episode 1, number 58 overall. This year, Woods has had his best year yet in OCR by winning the Spartan U.S. Championship Series, including 2 first places in the individual series races in San Jose and Chicago. With that series win, Ryan Woods is the reigning Spartan Race U.S. champion. It's time to talk with Ryan Woods. Let's go to the phones.
Ryan Woods, thanks for joining the show.
Thanks for having me.
Ryan,
it's been a while.
It has been a while. When I was logging into Skype to call you right now, I noticed the last time we talked was 10 months ago. Do you remember that?
Refresh my memory.
We had You've had a pretty eventful year.
Yeah. It's a calendar year from right now. Yeah, it's been pretty eventful, I guess you'd say. You had a pretty, let's say maybe bad or downer November, December last year, but this race year has been pretty good for you. Yeah, no, it really has. I made some good changes. I was building strength anyway, which I think was the biggest issue for me. Was starting off in the sport. I was getting better and better, and then some other subtle tweaks, and it started to come together pretty nicely for me. Do you have any secrets? Like, what are some of those tweaks you made? Just like nutrition stuff. I was basically, drinking 2 glasses of wine every night. Cut that down to no more than 3 times a week was kind of the goal. Just a ton of dessert and sugar. I cut that out. And I focused a lot more this year on recovery. So taking a little bit more protein immediately after workouts. I think at my age, keeping healthy is the biggest concern. And it wasn't even that healthy of a year for me, but it was just little nagging stuff that I had that kind of lasted that I could train and race well through. But I think as from a lot of my peers I've talked to and guys who've experienced, as you start to approach 40s and get into your 40s, everything feels fine and does just like they think it should until they start getting those injuries and they start to pile up, and then it's time off running. So, that was a big focus this year is health. I got a big stretching mat that I just roll out on the floor and gets me in the floor and helps keep me healthy. So a lot of stuff to prevent injuries this year, keep myself healthy, and then just getting stronger and stronger. I should say, we're talking about how good your year was. You won the Spartan Race U.S. Championship Series for the first time. Yep, I won it, and I won 2 races in it, which was the first time I'd ever won a U.S. Championship Series race. And super consistent. My lowest finish on the year was 5th, and going back to, and that was Seattle, a race that I was running faster than everybody else. I just panicked on a tire, and I got pumped out on Olympus, actually, of all obstacles to fail. It's the only time I ever failed. That was kind of weird, but I think I just redlined so much to get back in the race, and I had actually just caught the leader. But I just got pumped on it. But yeah, no, it's been a really, a good, consistent now, almost 2 full years going back the last 4 U.S. Series races in Tahoe of last year and this year. I mean, I think I've got now, I think, that's 4 or 5 U.S. Series this year. 12 races in a row, counting all the championship races, where the lowest finish I've had is 6th. So I've definitely figured the sport out to some degree, and now I'm very consistent in it. So my bad races aren't really all that bad.
So we've got World's Toughest Mudder coming up. What are your plans for World's Toughest?
To suffer. Right? Isn't that everyone's plan?
I don't know if that's their plan, but it happens to everyone.
Well, if you don't plan to suffer, then you're gonna be in for a bad surprise.
You know what, Ryan? That's a great point. Like, you know, when you go to a concert or something, or a baseball game, if you anticipate traffic's going to be bad, it's going to be terrible. It's just part of the deal. But we're going to enjoy our experience anyway. If you go into World's Toughest with that attitude, like, we are going to suffer, but it's not going to ruin our day, I think you're right.
Yeah. I mean, you just know what you're getting into, right?
Are you going to run in the individual or in the team category?
Team relay. That was pretty fun last year, doing the event that way. The rest in between really, I think, helps prevent you from doing anything, going out too hard, blowing up. It gives you time to hang out with your crew and be a part of the festival area, which is such a cool part of World's Toughest Mudder. So I like the team relay aspect of it.
Tell me about your team this year.
There's this guy, Ryan Atkins. That's going to be on my team. Have you heard of him?
I have heard of him.
Okay, cool. And then this girl, Lindsay Webster. Have you heard of her?
I've heard of her also.
Oh, cool. Well, all right. So you know most of my team. And then Brian Gowiski, who was on my team last year.
You're not the first co-ed team, but you're the first strong co-ed team in a long time. Do you guys have a plan for attacking the course?
We haven't really talked a whole lot about it. I think right now, some of the stuff that I've been talking about with them has been kind of pit area set up. Going into Atlanta, all elements are in play in terms of weather. So there's a good chance it could be raining through the night. And in Las Vegas, you didn't have to worry about that. You knew it was going to be dry. It was just dealing with the cold. But if it's going to be wet and rainy, cold and rainy, then, we need to have a good dry space, maybe focus on, what we're going to do to keep ourselves warm in between and properly preparing so that when we're starting our next lap, we're not in a cold, wetsuit, standing there for 15, 20 minutes, just be as efficient as possible in terms of staying dry and warm. But I mean, I suspect we haven't talked about the relay order and stuff, but I suspect it'll be Ryan and I starting off, doing the 2 laps for the first lap, because somebody has to run 2 laps because all 4 people are out there the first lap. And then I think we'll go 50-50 throughout most of the way. And last year, we went once we got deep into the night, we ended up doing 1 lap of one turn of running where we did 2 laps. And that was pretty efficient through the night because that was just one less time for you to take on and off your wetsuit. It's much slower doing it that way because that second lap you really start to drag while every other lap can be pretty efficient. So I'll definitely pitch that as something that, depending on how the race is going, that we might want to do. Also, when you've got 2 full hours to lay down and rest, that can be quite nice as well. So, there might be even some benefits to doing more than 1 lap of that or 1 run of that. So, but right now I think it's just going to be kicking stuff around, kicking ideas, make sure we've thought of everything and explored everything. But the communication right now, we're just doing a little bit of early stuff to figure it out.
It's kind of unusual. You and Brian were on the same team last year. You have more experience at the relay team than Ryan and Lindsay do. So you kind of have
they don't know what they're getting into. I think they'll be fine. I think Lindsay will do well too. I don't think she's had the results or the performance or the happiness doing the full 24-hour race that she would like. So I think she's going to enjoy the relay a lot more. And Ryan, he's just building up. He's going for 100 miles in Iceland, trying to get that big paycheck. And I think this is a great way for him to start that buildup where you're doing almost a simulated sort of event where you're racing through the night, but you're just taking a little bit more downtime. So I think this will be a great way for him to prepare and get ready for that.
What's some other advice you could give to other relay teams? Maybe people that aren't looking to run, 120, 125 miles.
Advice, don't go there with, just hundreds of gels. Those gels get so awful so quick. I like cheese pizza, Papa John's. It sits easy on my stomach, and through all my attempts at World's Toughest Mudder, I've continuously craved it. So I think you got to kind of think outside the box in terms of your fueling. I know it's nice to have all this, scientifically designed, perfect running substances, but your body's going to eventually start to reject some of that stuff, and you've got to find foods that you crave, or else you're gonna be out there not fueled at all. So I like Papa John's cheese pizza. No way am I endorsing Papa John, but for some reason, like Pizza Hut probably seems a little too greasy, so we'll go with Papa John's for now. And other things I like, I've had Biscoff cookie butter in the past. That stuff's delicious, especially when you get a little bit more downtime in the pits. Again, something you crave that's delicious. And then lots of like little candies like gummy bears and stuff. But fueling is always the biggest thing, and spending as little time as possible in the Porta Johns is always important. I'll do a little bit of a protein shake immediately after each lap. I'm going to use the Endure Elite this year. Their Recover Elite. It's got sugars and protein in it. I won't be doing like a full dose of protein, so it doesn't make my stomach upset. But within an hour, I'll probably take like a third of a dose just to get some protein in there to help with recovery throughout. Fueling's the biggest thing for sure. And then other than that, it's just keeping warm and getting through obstacles, which having done the toughest race in Atlanta on the same venue, it could be really tough this year. I think if the weather especially is wet, that Carolina clay they have there, it could actually make this course much, much slower than any course we've seen in Las Vegas, because you don't realize it, but those mud mounds are one of the toughest things to get through when it's that slippery and that slick. It's something that you need other people's help for sure. You can't hardly do it at all on your own, and even with that, it's still like this full body workout contraction for several minutes trying to get through those mud mounds. So there's elements like that are going to change that might catch some people off guard, because it's not going to be nice and smooth and easy running, kind of like Las Vegas was.
You mentioned that mud mile from Atlanta last year. We haven't talked about that in a long time, but that was a brutal mud mile, and it did not get easier as the night went on. No, it did not. And hopefully they don't do where you go down and back, because we were spending. Full out racing, Atkins and I, we were still spending 5 minutes getting through that obstacle. And it's not 5 minutes of just, easy jogging along through the woods. It's 5 minutes of every muscle in your body is having to stay tense and contracted, trying to get up this slippery, just slimy mud mound. So, that's good. I think that'll catch some people off guard, and just the mud in general, and just how every step is heavier, the mud caked on your shoes, on your legs, how everything is just going to be that much more of a slog out there. That's the one thing I think that'll be new this year. Do you guys have a mileage goal? Have you talked about that?
No, we haven't talked anything about that. I don't know if that's, new venue. It's, only second year they've done this race. I think, I was looking at some of my splits last year, and most of our laps are under an hour, and then we started failing some obstacles, which added on more time. I don't see many obstacle failures this year. I think I only failed 2 last year, and one of those was just a misgrab. Brian didn't fail any. Atkins didn't fail any, and then I think Lindsay will probably even be pretty clean too, with the extra rest in between. I think through the night last year she started to fail a couple as well, but I think if we're clean on the laps, and it's somewhat similar, we could be doing, sub-hour laps most of the time. Again, the mud could slow all that down, but I think it's more about getting out there and seeing what the competition's doing and responding to that and digging deeper or, cruising to make sure that we get there to the finish. Because sometimes if you got a mileage goal and if you start doing stuff like that, you might end up
pressing too much, and then you end up blowing up. And that's not in a team relay. If one guy goes down, that means a lot more stress for everybody else.
That's a good point. Yeah, you need him for that last lap too.
Oh, yeah, true. But I mean, you can kind of, I don't know. We got Atkins on the team, so he could carry whoever went down if it were me, right?
Ryan, do you have any sponsors? Anyone you want to plug?
I work with Endurelite. I work with Gooder, the sunglass company. They're really cool. It's fun to be with them. They've got a new OCR line coming out too, so keep your eye out for that. But that's it. No big sponsors.
Ryan, any last thoughts on World's Toughest Mudder?
I think I covered a lot of thoughts there, so I think that's pretty good.
Ryan Woods, thanks much.
Yeah, no problem. Well, see you.
Special thanks to Ryan Woods for appearing in this episode. Well done, Ryan. Good luck in Atlanta. We've got so much more Elite Week coming. You're going to get so many interviews. You're going to ask me to stop. Around Thursday of next week, you're going to be drowning in interviews. And you're going to look up at me and ask, how many more? And are they regular people or stars? And I will answer you, 5 stars. Go spend time with someone you love.